Hello, everybody. Ooh, let me make sure you can see me. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Wendy Howard. I'm the executive director of One Montgomery Green, and I'm excited for you guys all to join us tonight with our partner, our pal, our best buds, Poolesville Green, as we talk about transportation in the new age, or what I like to call the electric vehicles that I want to own. Let me give you a couple of logistic stuff before we get started. We have you guys set up as a webinar. So if you have any questions or things you'd like to ask, please use the chat box. I know I do have the Q&A on, but we would prefer the chat because we have the ability to save the chat, whereas you don't have the ability to save the Q&A box. Any resources that we talk about here today, we will make sure also go into the chat box. We are recording this conversation. You will all get a link to it a day or so afterwards as well that you can share with other people. And I will also make a point to include any of those other resources in that email as well. Sometimes people don't like to go through the chat to do it, but I'll make sure you get it in multiple different ways because we have a lot of different resources. So One Montgomery Green has been hosting a bunch of these seminars or webinars over the past couple of months as we've been dealing with the new reality that we're all living in, practicing safe distancing. Our friends at Poolesville Green have been so on the forefront of the electric vehicles. We would generally have been in Poolesville this week, right? I guess it would have been this weekend. We would have been in Poolesville for Poolesville Day. We at OMG love to come and participate with Poolesville Green to support the EV show. Like I said, drool at the Tesla that's going to be mine soon. But here we are in a different way. We will talk about some of the other events that are going on because it is not National Drive Electric Week. And I'm hoping some of our panelists can talk to it. We actually have a special friend who might be able to join us and talk about it. But that's pretty much it. I think I've talked to you a little bit about who we are, what's going on. I'm going to turn it over to Joyce at Poolesville Green to give you kind of a little highlight and talk a little bit about electric vehicles. And Joyce, when you're ready, you just tell me to hit next on the slides. And Joyce, Poolesville Green.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Joyce Breiner, Executive Director and co-founder of Poolesville Green. We've been around for about 10 years now, and as Wendy mentioned, we've really sort of gravitated to one of our major things we talk about is electric vehicles, and we have the largest electric vehicle show on the East Coast pre-COVID. So we're pretty proud of that, and we're well known in the region among the electric car owner enthusiasts. Another organization we partner with very closely is the Electric Vehicle Association of Greater Washington, D.C. They're a membership organization of EV enthusiasts, and they have a trove of resources, some of which we'll be using today. They also have monthly meetings on the third Wednesday of the month, and they're doing those via Zoom right now, and so they are very welcoming to the newbie and the interested potential EV owner. In fact, Suzanne, I hope you'll talk about that, your experience with that a little later. So I think maybe we'll go around and introduce ourselves, and then we'll jump right into it, and we'll sort of just see how it goes. Alan, why don't you go next?
Okay. I'm Alan Black. I live in Germantown, and I bought a boat 1 year ago, or August of last year, and I look forward to talking to you about it.
And I happen to have a Model 3 Tesla and a 2018 Chevy Volt plug-in hybrid. And I've been driving EVs for about 8 years now, a little over 8 years. JD, go ahead.
Yeah, how you doing? I'm JD Taylor. I'm on the board of directors for Poolesville Green. I'm also the president of the Maryland Tesla Owners Club. So I drive a Tesla Model X 2020, or sorry, a 2017 Model X. So I've had just over 3 years. Before that, I drove a Ford Fusion plug-in, and that was probably my introduction to the plug-ins. It was a plug-in hybrid. So I've been driving that for about 4 years prior to that. So that's me.
So Suzanne, why don't you tell us about your background with this?
Yeah, so we have a 2020 Chevy Bolt that we got in February. And before that, we have been driving a 2008 Honda Fit manual transmission. Thank you so much. And that was a great transportation solution for us. I will say that one of the things that we did is, like in any car decision, just like when going solar, the first thing to do is to minimize your usage. We tried really hard to drive less. So that was actually one of the decisions behind our Honda Fit. Prius was obviously available then, and we made a decision to go with the gas-powered car at that time. But that has been a very, very conscious part of our decision. I only half joke that the ride on the bus is our second car. But that's how we've done it. So combination of transit, bike, walking, and then the car when we need it. But right now what's in our driveway is the 2020 Volt, and I look forward to sharing more about our experience with it.
Great. Okay. Wendy, why don't you go to the next slide and we'll just sort of start picking topics to talk about. I think I'll address the range anxiety. I was thinking about that earlier today. We started out with a Nissan Leaf way back in the early days in 2012. We were one of the first owners in the region, and you know, it was a transition, but we decided that of our 2-car family that, you know, we could manage one with having a range of, I can't remember at the time, I think it was right around 100 miles, maybe slightly less actually. And that became my husband's commuter car, which worked great. It was a great experience, but we did not actually take it out of state. We never had it out of state. The charging infrastructure back then was not as advanced as it is today. And so we just sort of kept it as the local runaround car. But what did happen for us anyway, back in those days, was that it ended up being our car of choice for anything local, anything. And we didn't necessarily, you know, we weren't big road trip people or anything like that. We weren't, you know, going out of state every weekend or anything like that. So it became our primary vehicle actually pretty quickly. And then now we have a long range Tesla Model 3, which we have for 2 years now. And we don't even think about charging issue. Range anxiety doesn't exist for us anymore.
Joyce, how long is that range?
What's that?
How long is the range? You said long range, so how
Yeah, so it's like 310 miles. I've had it down to, we've had it up into upstate New York. We've had it to Cleveland. We've had it to Myrtle Beach. And you know, it's, you plan your potty breaks and your eating around where the charging infrastructure is, and for Tesla that's really not an issue, and it's working out. There are much more opportunities for non-Tesla EVs as well, and I don't want to monopolize the conversation, so anybody else want to pipe in about how if they've had range anxiety or not?
I know for me, I actually waited. Well, I had the plug-in hybrid prior to that, so I had gas or electric on the Ford Fusion, which my range was about 700 miles between the two. But when I went all electric, for me, I waited for the Teslas to be available and for the Tesla infrastructure to get to the point where I could go to Ocean City without, having to worry about range. And right now, the Tesla supercharging network has grown so large, so fast. You can really go anywhere in the United States without any kind of range anxiety, I don't think. Most Teslas have a range over 300 miles. Mine's actually 296 because I got it earlier. It's a 2017, as I pointed out. And that'll get me to almost any supercharger. And then at the superchargers, it takes like 20 to 40 minutes to charge. So then you're ready to go to the next supercharger in another almost 300 miles. So to me, that works out perfect.
Alan or Suzanne want to add anything?
Real quick, JD and Suzanne, you guys are kind of, the sound is a little light. If you can maybe move closer to your mic, I'd appreciate it.
So there are I see some questions starting to come in, and I'd be happy if we just started responding to those as a conversation. Anybody have any thoughts? And now I know Alan and Suzanne may not be, I don't know, did you look at Mini Coopers at all?
I didn't.
Yeah, I think I don't have any thoughts on those in particular. I think if 110-mile range meets your needs, go for it if you're interested in that style of car or whatever. We can look at let me blow that up so I can read it. On the screen right now is a sheet from the Electric Vehicle Association of Greater Washington, D.C. They update this every year, sometimes twice a year. And it's a front and back sheet at the link there indicated on the right. The one side has all the electrics, most of them. Actually, the sheet is getting so crammed with information we can't get it all on. But most of the electrics are there. And then the other side of the sheet has the plug-in hybrids, and also that's getting pretty crammed. But we try to get as much of them on the sheet as possible. And it's just loaded with information. I'm not even sure the Mini Cooper is on the list. I'm not seeing it. Mini Electric,
Can you see?
There it is.
Yeah.
Can you see? Yeah. Oops, sorry.
So one thing, yeah, it's there. You can go back to that, Wendy. Yeah, that's as you can see, between the net price and the base price, those two columns are indicating the factor of the whether or not the federal tax credit plays in there. If a manufacturer has not sold more than 200,000 electric models, then there is a federal tax credit that's available. You have to have certain earning, you may not get the full tax credit based upon your tax liability, but if you can access the full tax liability, then the net price is basically the starting price you're looking at. Let's see, anybody else have any?
Well, can you explain this a little bit? You were talking about it with the Mini. Can you talk a little bit about more sort of the base price, the net price? Yeah, please.
Yeah, so the base price is, what the manufacturer is putting out there as the price of the base model without the bells and whistles. Net price is the tax credit, federal tax credit taken off of that.
Gotcha.
A full tax credit is $7,500. It's based on battery size. But most of the, in fact, I don't know any of the full electrics other than maybe the Zero motorcycle, the motorcycles. I don't know any electric car, full electric car that does not take advantage of the full tax credit of $7,500. Then the range column, that's generally, I think, the EPA range listed. There's little footnotes. If you see the little footnote marks, those are listed on the other side of the, there's, her mouse is showing it there. And then the battery size tells you how big the battery is for the, and between the range, the battery and the efficiency of the battery gives you the range. Power is kilowatts. And then the 0 to 60 times, if you want to know how fast it is off the mark there, you get your 0 to 60 times. Quick charging, QC is quick charging. I don't really look at that column too often, but the higher the number, the quicker the car should charge, I think there. That might be associated with, that's what that is. It's related to that. And then miles per gallon equivalent. So the EPA does an equivalency number. They call it MPGE. And it tries to relate to, what a relatable number. I don't necessarily think it's the best metric, but it gives you a sense of how efficient they are. If you'll notice, let's see, I'm looking for, if you notice the Model 3, Model 3 is 131 MPGE, and that's one of your most efficient ones. The Standard Plus is the most efficient there on that list. And that's how many miles per kilowatt hour, how many miles of range per kilowatt hour sort of relates to that. So some of your battery chemistries by some manufacturers are going to be better than others, just like you get a car might get 25 miles per gallon, but from another manufacturer, a similar brand, a similar model will have 35 miles per gallon. So it's a sort of that kind of thing. And then the estimated fuel cost per month, that's electricity. That's based on the national average of, I think, 12 cents per kilowatt hour. That is, again, in the footnote part of the form that defines that for you. And that's based, I think, on 12, it's either 1,000 miles a month or 12,000 miles a year, which is basically 1,000 miles a month. So that's sort of the outline of what the kind of data you're getting there on that chart.
We might want
Thanks. It was kind of hard to see, so that's why I wanted to make sure you could explain it on here.
Yeah, no, I can go ahead, JD. You wanted to add something?
I just gonna say we might want to
Point out also, for those who might not know, so these are the all electrics. On the other side are what they call the plug-in electric hybrids, and that just means that they can take gas, and they also have a large enough battery to plug in. And those plug-in ranges are anywhere from a couple miles to to 100 and some miles for those plug-in hybrids. I think most of them range somewhere in that 10 to 40 mile range, depending again how big the batteries are on this. And then there's the hybrids that you hear about a lot, and hybrids have a battery in them, but they can't plug in and charge the battery. They totally charge the battery through the gas engine and through regenerative braking and just regenerative cruising. And those aren't even listed on here. We don't really consider those, they're not plug-in electrics.
Cool. So to that end, Leah asks a question: how many different charging infrastructures are there, and why are they not interoperable? That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
But we, we pay her for that.
So there are a lot of different types of electric infrastructures out there. There's also different types of charging. We usually think of it as like type 1, 2, and 3, kind of the common names, where 1 being your normal 110 plug-in volt or a plug-in wall socket, which will only charge the car like 1 mile every hour, or maybe up to 3 miles every hour. Then you have your level 2 chargers, which usually charge, at least with the Tesla, I know they charge somewhere between 25 and 40 miles every hour, depending on what the voltage is of that level 2. Most of them are somewhere at 25, 28 miles every hour. Then you have the level 3s, and they kind of come in a lot of different flavors. There are DC fast chargers. There are the Tesla superchargers, which are kind of a level way above that. And they range on how fast they charge, but they're usually in that 100 to several hundred miles every hour range. And then there's a lot of different companies that own all those different infrastructures. So each of the companies are trying to make their own money off of having you buy electricity from them, or having you use electricity from their charging systems. They have been trying to integrate those, but basically most people who have EVs will go out and get the different methods for charging at different charging stations, depending on who they're owned by, such as Blink or was it Avio? There's just a number of them, and usually you'll have some kind of little card, or maybe you register your credit card with them. A lot of them will have an option of paying with a credit card right there. And the amount they charge, it really depends on the company that is with. One of the things I like about the Teslas is that I have that infrastructure all on my center panel. Or at least I have all the Tesla superchargers and where they are all located. And I don't get charged anything for them, because the Model S's and the Model X's, they have free supercharging for as long as you own the car. So it's just nice and easy and good. There are a lot of also destination chargers. There are a lot of places like Mom's will not charge you to use their chargers. They use it as an incentive for you to come shop at Mom's. A lot of hotels and things like that will also have that same option. So it really does kind of depend on what what kind of car you're driving and where you're charging it.
Sounds good. Joyce, I see you're outside. Are you going to show us some stuff?
Sure.
Well, let me add to that too. While she,
do I share my screen? Is that what I do? Or did you?
No, you wanted to turn it around, right?
Okay.
So that we can see what you see. All right.
Did that work?
No, turn it around, because we can see you, but we can't see your car. So either.
Yeah. Okay.
Just turn it around and point to the car. There we go. We can see the car now.
Oh, did I turn off again?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Technical. How's that?
There we go.
Okay. All right. So here's our Model 3. And here is our, I can't see I can't see what I'm looking at through the screen. So
we can see it.
So this is our second generation Volt. We've actually had a number of Volts in the family over the years, and that's worked really well for us partly as a transition. So I wanted to show you, we talked about charging, and there's I think JD was talking about there's level 1, 2, and 3 charging, but then there are different connectors as well. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to point you away there. And we use at home here, we use what I call a universal charger. It is not a Tesla brand. So it has on it what we will call a J1772 plug. Just a second.
And while she's doing that, I should point out that most people do charge their cars at home more than they do at charging stations. It's cheaper usually to charge at home, and it's always nice to have a full charge when you get up in the morning.
Right. So usually like this is how I would use it if we're plugging into the Volt over there, or my son's Volt here. And but for the Tesla, and JD, you can talk while I'm putting things together here. I'm going to put the Tesla adapter on.
All right. Well, so what she's showing you, Teslas have their own type of proprietary adapt or plug into the Tesla. And so she's making it so that she's using an adapter, from J72 to the Tesla. And there's an adapter for Teslas just for about every other charging that you can think of. They have an adapter to hook into your Tesla. And now, well, she's now opening up the charging port on the car, which on the Tesla is hidden under your backlight, which is pretty nice. And
If it works.
because the car's
Yeah, it works.
if the nice thing about the Tesla, if the car is locked, it will not let you open the charge port. So
there you go.
It must have been a 56 Chevy fan.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, so we just plug this in here. And the light indications, every car has its own lighting indication of what's happening, whether the charger's charging or not, or, is it finished charging? When this is green, that means it's charging. And then,
again, when the car is locked, it's now locked into the port when the car is locked, so you cannot unplug it. So that somebody can't walk up and unplug your car. So it's locked into the car.
Very cool. Joyce, do you want to turn that sideways so we can see? Try and turn your phone sideways. There we go.
Yep.
Now we can see the whole screen there. That's good.
So that's her center console screen showing that she's charging the car.
And it says an hour and 5 minutes remaining. Had you charged this at all recently?
Yeah, it's pretty well charged up. You can see the green is all that the charge is now in the car. So so it just has that much more to go to the 80% charge. Usually you charge your car for a Tesla, they recommend charging it up to 80% of full charge. And that's just to maintain the battery better. If you keep it above 20% and below 80%, it makes the longevity of the battery much longer. Which is one of the things people also worry about on electric cars is how long is your battery going to last. Again, though, for Tesla, the battery management system's so good, they've seen very little drop off in the range after owning the car for a long time, and it flattens out pretty quick, and it doesn't seem to drop off so far. So there's a lot of write-ups on it, though.
So Christine asked, she says the big issue for her is charging from her house with no driveway and a large front yard that is as great as a vegetable garden, but is more than 24 feet from her solar charger connection. She sees cars hooking with two electric cords to a 120 socket. Can you address connection charging issues? Prospective house buyers should keep this in mind.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's certainly nice to have a garage and to be able to put what they call a wall charger in the garage. But you can put a charger outside, just like I have an RV, and I have a little pedestal out there for my RV. So if you own your own house, then it's not really that hard to do. They'll run a cord going out from wherever your panel is. They'll put it underground, and they'll put a little, basically a pole with your charge port or the charger on the pole. So you can do that. It can charge while it's outside. There's not a problem with rain and all that. If you're in a condominium, though, then that becomes a greater problem. And most of that's been solved in places by getting the condominium to allow charging someplace in wherever you can park. So somewhere within the condominium. But it can be an issue. And also I've seen other people get around that, or at least solve that by charging at work. They'll after work, they'll go and hit a charging station before going home. It's a little less convenient, but you can do it.
So we've been sort of monopolizing the conversation here, and Alan and Suzanne, why don't you talk about your charging options right now, and then we'll be able to address some of the questions coming in about home charging and a little more about the other question that was asked about, not having a garage or whatever. Why don't you guys talk about that, and I'll come back into the house.
So Suzanne, I'm going to start with you. I made you spotlight.
Thanks. So we are still using our L1 charger, and this is becoming a little bit of a problem. So we are able to charge in our garage, which is awesome. The only thing is that we don't have, we're finally on the electrician's docket, but he hasn't come yet. So we're working with the outlets that we have in the garage, namely we don't have enough. So either the car charges or the electric garage door opener is plugged in, but not both. So that means that there is a complicated choreography in order to get the car actually charging. And then when it's plugged in, like the great thing is it's possible, right? So there's always that silver lining. The not so great thing is it takes more than 24 hours to fully charge the car. So this is not something that you think about 10 minutes before you need to go. So we're trying to keep it always charged at least halfway so that we've got capacity. And JD, we definitely do look for public chargers when we're out and about. And that is sometimes influencing the destination of if it's going to be near the charger, then that is the place to go. And we're getting ever better at finding those chargers. We've got the PlugShare app on our phones. And so we've got that in our proverbial back pocket. But right now we're making do with the L2 charger, I mean the L1 charger. We're looking forward to the L2, but it is possible. I think if we were, like if I was driving a car to a workplace, I would be able to charge at work. That would be a fortunate thing, but we're not using it in that way. So the home charging is and for the foreseeable future going to be the primary place that we charge our car.
And Suzanne, you actually pointed out something really good was the PlugShare app.
Mm-hmm.
PlugShare app is a really nice app to find chargers, to find out what the condition of the chargers are, what speed they charge at, what cost. It really covers everything in there, and it's like a Google Maps type of view with just showing you where all the chargers are, though.
I have that up for a screen share. I can screen share that quick.
They often tell you whether they're occupied or not, whether there's an open charger as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So like Suzanne, I'm using the L1, and I thought I'd have to rush and have the other charger installed, and I've just been procrastinating on it and making do. You just get in the habit of when you park, you always plug in. In a year, there's a charger at my wife's work, so twice I think she's taken it in to charge it when we were going to go somewhere, and 2 times I've gone to a local fast charger, and it just really hasn't been an issue for my needs. I'm in real estate, so I'm driving around a lot, but I'm also back in front of the charger a lot. I have noticed when it becomes an issue for me has been in the winter, because the charging seems to be slower in the winter.
And you also have a lot less range for a lot of these cars in the winter too.
Right.
So I think everybody can see this PlugShare screen now. There's lots of filters on this. This comes in an app and a website, as you see, and you can plug in the filters if you only want to see certain types of chargers or certain kind of plugs. You can do that. You can, if there are charging networks, just like there are networks of brands of gasoline. So there's Texaco and I don't know, Liberty, and all those different brands. So there's these different brands on the left of charging networks if you only want to use those, so that you set those filters, and then that'll show what you really want to see, narrow it down a bit. So I just thought I'd mention that. We do have a new charger in Poolesville, which is brand new as about a month ago. And it happens to be at the Total Automotive and Diesel Services. It's a L3, so that means it's fast. It charges really fast. Generally, you get 80% battery in 20 to 30 minutes. of charging, which is really fast. Suzanne and Alan both came out to experience that. We learned a little bit there. Alan and Suzanne, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we actually didn't buy our Bolt, we're leasing it. And this is the first time we've ever leased a car. And so that gave us a little bit of anxiety as well about what are we doing. And we're finding that so far, we've been very happy with our decision to lease instead of to purchase, because this is our practice car. So we already learned that we made one mistake, and that is that we didn't, we drove out to Poolesville to this lovely charger, only to find that we are set up for L2 charging, but our car is not able to receive the L3 plug. So that would have been something that we needed to ask for. And so now we're building that list of, there I am with the car. So we're building that list of things to do differently next time. And so looking at fast charging capacity is one of those things. So it hasn't been a terribly regrettable thing right now. But it's just one of those things where we're like, oh, shoot, we didn't even think about that. So now we're going to think about it.
Yeah, or something else. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about some charging is back to local charging is, or meaning at your household. If you have, the capabilities there. The county had initiated a permitting process for electric vehicle charging installations in the home setting, in the residential setting. And they found after instituting it in, I think, May, that it came into conflict with some Maryland law or some Montgomery County laws. So that policy has been revoked for now. And I don't know where that's going to go, but for the foreseeable future, there's no specific EV charging permitting in Montgomery County. So my advice would be to go ahead and take care of this while you can, and you don't have to pay extra permitting fees or whatever. And find yourself a good electrician that you trust to do the job properly, and go from there. The other thing to note about installing infrastructure residentially is the federal tax credit. You can get, I think it's on the sheet. Let me see. I can bring that sheet up quick. Hold on a second. Yeah, so there's you can get 50% up to the cost of up to $1,000 back. That's in DC. Federal tax credits, EVSE. EVSE is electric vehicle service equipment. So is the sort of layman's term. EVSE is the official term. So you can get up to $1,000 tax credit from the federal for installation of EVSE equipment. That's for the equipment and the installation. And then you can stack on top of that, you can get the tax credit from Maryland as well. So you can,
and the utilities offer some money.
Yeah, and then the utility, we don't have those on there. Yeah, the utilities offer those too. They require that you have specific models of chargers. Because they're networked, because they're collecting data to understand how people are using electric vehicle charging in the residential setting. So that's a little more involved, I think, and it depends on your utility, what options and what incentives you can get there. But they do stack on each other. Again, this one, the federal one's running out in December. And the Maryland one is good through October 2022. At that.
So we have another question. How much does one of the universal chargers cost?
Okay, so universal chargers range. Alan and Suzanne, you might be the best to answer that because you've been researching that, right?
Yeah, I would say around $600 or so. It depends on the brand. And the model.
Yeah, and those were networked, right? Because you were looking to get the utility incentive?
Yeah. Yeah. So they tend to be the higher end ones. And so Joyce, you are really helpful in pointing out the difference between the ones that are hardwired into your house and the ones that are just plug in, and the benefits of having one that plugs in so that you can take it with you if you end up moving.
So yeah, so I've been seeing the price around 300 up to 700, yeah, depending on
Mm-hmm.
the unit. And then you have to pay for installation. You really want to get an electrician to install these. I mean, I know quite a bit around electric box and all that, and I have installed my own when I had a 40 amp unit. When I went to the 100 amp, I actually went and got an electrician who did a whole lot better job. Maybe sleep better at night. So so I think it's a one that you really do want to have an electrician who knows about installing wall chargers.
So, you know, the question I promised you guys I would all ask is, as a person who is, as I mentioned, my car note is just about over. So I'll be looking for a new car soon. So, you know, why go electric? Why go all electric versus hybrid? Can you guys, you know, give some of us novices an idea of why you did it and sort of the benefits? Maybe Suzanne and Alan, you want to start first, and then we'll go with the professionals. So
Sure.
Alan, let's jump on you because you you've been kind of quiet. Tell us why.
Oh, well, I did it for the environmental reasons. I've installed solar panels. I've installed a geothermal heat pump. I've tried to reduce my use in different ways. The reason I bought one was I said my next car will be electric, and then my car died. I went, oops. Now I've got to go electric, and I had a lot of anxiety, I must admit, primarily because I went from a small van. I said, now what am I going to do? And one of the reasons I picked the Bolt was because of the hatchback. As much as I wanted a Tesla, I couldn't afford the one with the hatchback. So, but I have no regrets. I would say don't let the anxiety over doing it sway you, because they are so fun to drive. And I don't know what else to say about it. Suzanne.
Yeah, so we were not looking to acquire another car until our college student ended up needing one. And like, as I said before, we had downsized to one car, so we needed to acquire another set of wheels. And so when I was looking for the Honda Fit, I went to the list of green cars, and that's where we started. And so we kind of approached this the same way and had that gut feeling of it seems like an electric car would be the right thing to do. Alan, we've got solar panels as well, and are trying to generally live as lightly as possible, or live more lightly. And so that led us to electric. And so I had concerns about the range, and the Bolt has not a bad range. It's rated for what, 257 miles, which, you know, I don't have the illusion that we might actually get 257 miles out of a full charge, but the point was that it was significantly more than previous models of cars had. So that, you know, that was a +1. And the pricing was good at the time, and I think those incentives are still available whether you're purchasing or leasing. So that eliminated a little bit of that anxiety. And then as we were thinking more about what is wrapped into the price, we discovered this side benefit that we hadn't realized of the maintenance, because there's less wear and tear on the brakes. And the regenerative driving is a lot of fun. It really revolutionizes how you drive, or how we've been driving. You know, I won't generalize to everyone, but it has changed the way that we drive. You know, if you've been hypermiling, you're already kind of in that groove, and this just takes it to one step further. But there's no fluids that you have to replace. There's like a lot less that you have to do. And so that was another bonus. So the way we're looking at this is the lease is for 3 years. At the 2.5 year point, or again, who are we kidding? We're now constantly looking. But minimally at 2.5 years into this, we'll reconsider and see what our next steps are going to be. But chances are really, really good that now that we've converted ourselves to electric, that we're going to stay in that direction. So
That's
no
great.
regrets either, other than that little mistake about the
You're-
charging.
You're not missing going to gas stations and getting oil changes.
No, and I've got this compulsive thing ever since I started driving, is scoping out the gas prices everywhere. So like I haven't gotten rid of that habit yet. I'm constantly scoping for gas prices, but this coupon came the other day for so many cents off gas, and so I asked my family, are we interested in this? And they're like, no. Are you interested in it for our fit driver? I'm like, no. I'm like, oh yeah, we're not buying gas anymore. So you do have your moments of forgetting, but yeah, that is a plus, that you don't have to look for gas. Now we are looking for chargers, but yeah, we haven't really looked back. The car is a lot of fun to drive. It has great acceleration. If that's something that you need, I mean, normally you should be just coasting along, but if there's that need to put your pedal to the metal, that car will go if you need it to.
Cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the Bolt incentives. I was just happened to come across this the other day, and I was wondering if they could be stacked, and I finally got that answer this last week. Right now you're seeing Bolts being advertised with a manufacturer incentive, I think, of $8,500. And Costco, if you're a Costco member, Costco is giving you another additional $3,000. And so now Chevy you can't get the federal tax credit anymore because they've sold more than 200,000 vehicles, but that's a big deal. I mean, their base model, I think that gets you down to the 22 something range, $22,000 something range for a Bolt. You might want to bump it up a little bit in its specs with the L3 charging capability and stuff like that. But that's a great deal for a brand new car. Sort of cutting edge with electric. So that's something to really think about if you're in the market anyway right now.
Yeah, I will say that, so there's another unanticipated consequence of having this car, and that is it is a conversation starter. We have had conversations with so many people around, what is this car, and is it really all electric, and what is it like to drive it? And so you end up being a bit of an ambassador for EVs at the same time. So thanks to Joyce, we are hooked up with those fact sheets. We've got them in the trunk of our car. And we use them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Elvia, our friends from Annapolis Green, as well as the EVA DC, says she's always gotten more miles than what the car is rated for, and she has a Bolt too. So good to know. So JD and Joyce, I put it to you. Why go electric? What the heck is it all about?
Well,
Go ahead, JD.
I was going to say there is a saying: once you go electric, you don't go back, and it really is true. I mean, I had first gotten the plug-in Ford Fusion, and I found myself hating it whenever I had to use the gas. I always wanted to use the electric part. And the Ford Fusion plug-in only got about 18-20 miles on all electric, and then it went to a hybrid mode after that. So I really wanted to go ahead and get to a point where I could drive an all-electric car. I know most people that get some of these all-electric cars, they get it as their second car. They want to keep a gas car to go on long trips. I didn't want to do that. I really wanted the Tesla, and I was waiting for the range to get to the point, and the supercharging structure to get to the point where I could take it anywhere. I originally was going to get the Model 3. I was waiting to had one on order, and then I just decided to go to the Model X. So the Model X is definitely, for me, it was my dream car. It can handle all the room and storage for my daughter's supplies, for medical supplies. I can very easily put her into the back of the car without having to Rain, you know, she's in a wheelchair, so it's very easy to get her from the wheelchair into the back of the car and then to put her wheelchair into the back area. Tons of storage. Love it. Got rid of all my gas cars. I can go here to Florida, no problem. Go to California. I can do whatever, and anywhere I want to go, I can go. And like I say, Suzanne kind of touched on it too. Some of the savings that you're saving is maintenance. There's practically no maintenance. There's no oil, no gas. There's no spark plugs. There's no combustion going on in your engine. There's, you know, it's always fun to show people that the what they call the frunk on a Tesla, which is that front storage area that, you know, there's just because there's no motor there. There's the motors are around each of the wheels. They take up very little area, and then the rest is all storage. So it's pretty amazing what you can do with it. The other nice thing with the Teslas is they upgrade all the time. They give you free upgrades just having your car sitting in its parking spot, and you come out the next day and all of a sudden you have new features added to the car. Features that you did have before got upgraded and got better, just like your cell phone. The apps get upgraded while you sleep overnight, you know, or even during the day. Same thing with the Tesla. You'll get a little notice on your phone saying, there's a new update. Would you like to install it? And you say, yeah, go ahead and install it. It usually takes like 20 to 40 minutes. And then you run out to see what new things got added to your car. And I bought my car in 2017, and it is a better car today than when I bought it because it now has more features. The features that it did have before work better, and it just keeps up with the times. It's just amazing. You used to have to wait till the next model year and buy the next car in order to get some of the features that they've gotten with my car. You know, those included things like I had intermittent windshield wipers when I first got it. Now I have rain sensing windshield wipers. I have something called Sentry mode, which actually can watch my car with security cameras all around when I'm not in the car. You know, it also records when I'm driving in the car and something happens, I honk my horn or something like that, it'll save that recording. And it's, again, on all the cameras. There's like, what is there, 8 cameras, I think, around the entire car. So it's pretty amazing what it can do. The other things are added, like dog mode, which means if you leave your dogs in the car on a hot day and you go away, you can put it in dog mode, and it'll keep the car nice and comfortable. And it'll let the dogs know, or let people know that the dogs are comfortable. When they look in, they see it on a big screen saying that these dogs are comfortable at 72 degrees or whatever temperature it is.
Because the car is quiet, the car is silent, so everybody thinks the car is off.
Air conditioning on. That's about all you hear. Yeah. Same with the camp mode they added on there, which allows you to put it in camp mode. Means all your electrical things in the car stay active, and your air conditioning, your heating will stay active, and you can sleep in your car comfortably until you know, you're ready to go the next day.
Very cool.
I was thinking about how to answer this question, and the answer for me, the question was why go electric, or what made me go electric, and I guess the answer for me is why not. You know, we've been there. I can't imagine having a full gas car anymore. It's just outside of my range of possibility. I've been, I just don't need to do that. And, you know, I want to be as ecologically sensitive as I can, and, you know, live as sustainably as possible. We have solar on the roof, and we're lucky that we can do that. So we charge, you know, the cars from that, and it works great. I think one thing we might have missed, and I know we're wrapping up here soon, but is that the cost of charging, especially if you're able to charge at home, is significantly less expensive than buying gasoline. So you're saving on maintenance, you're saving on fuel costs. You know, you're saving a lot of things. You're not going around pushing carbon out your tailpipe. So I just see it better as all the way around.
It's much
So,
cleaner in your garage too. You're not
yeah,
dripping on the floor. You don't have oil spilling on the floor and things like that. You don't have the carbon monoxide building up in the garage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
Yeah.
as we get to the end of this, I see two more questions. One from Leah: are there any all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive EVs for people? And I'm going to ask you about the aftermarket. I've always been a used car person, so if you could talk to those. First off, sort of different models that are out there. I'm always looking for that convertible model. But
Well,
I don't have to have that immediately.
Suzanne, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay, so I actually did buy a used plug-in hybrid. Have been through that. So we were looking for a car for our son, and so we started shopping around. And really, the only thing that was really even considered was a used Volt at the time, plug-in hybrid Volt. He had experience with the Volt that we had. And we just needed a third car for him for going to college. And so we got one. We looked at Carvana. We were one of the early Carvana buyers here in the area. I think it's before they had their tower out in Gaithersburg. And that was a very smooth process. If you go the used route, I would consult with folks like EVADC members. I would go to a meeting or check in with some of those. There are some tips, and particularly they have a lot of information even on their website about used Leafs. There were some issues with some Leafs, and depends sort of on the model year and stuff, and they have a lot of information about how to know what to look for. The same, we were lucky to have experience with the Volt ourselves before buying one used, so we knew what to be looking for, and that whole process actually was very smooth with Carvana in particular. Again, I think I would, if you find one you're interested in, I think if you're not, if you haven't already had a conversation with a current owner of that model, I would find one to maybe get some tips and tricks about what to learn. In particular, with the Volt, you can sort of get an idea of how hard the battery was used, if by some of the indications in the screens that you can access, and knowing that can give you a sense of, were they just always putting gasoline in a car and they never used the battery, which there are Volt owners that do that. They just never plug them in. I think they're out of their minds, but but they there are Volts running around that have been like that, treated like that. So ours is sort of the opposite. The engine never gets used, and actually they turn the engine on while you're driving if you only drive it in electric once every 6 months, I think, just for the health of the engine. But that's what I would do. I wouldn't hesitate to look at that. There are more of them coming out in the market. If you get in touch with the Tesla folks, they can actually keep an eye out for you. I know someone who a few years ago got a used Model S, and they are out there. I'd be careful about buying them from a non-Tesla dealer. Again, get in touch with a current owner of that model in particular, and they can sort of help you understand what's going on, what the dealer may or may not know about the car they're trying to sell you. So
my neighbor bought a used Tesla, and had I known this at the time, that might have swayed me, because like you, Wendy, I like to buy a used car and let somebody else take the depreciation.
Yeah.
But he bought a Tesla from Tesla, and it came with a 4-year warranty, a used Tesla.
Yep, they have a pretty good used program. To kind of answer the other side of that question was about all weather and the SU or the does all-wheel drive and such, an SUV. The Model X is considered an SUV. Almost all the Teslas, I believe, come in all-wheel versions. The Model X only comes in an all-wheel version. And it does very well in the snow. With all wheels electric, the response to the changes in speed, as you know, most electric cars will go to 0 to 60 in a heartbeat. It's kind of like taking a fan and going from low to high. It goes right away. Same idea, since it's electric, same idea with the car. But that also means that it can manage torque and wheels very, very quickly. So it does really well on the snow and ice. Probably better than most gas cars. They're very heavy cars, but because of the batteries, but they do well in those conditions. And I can tow with my my Tesla. I can tow up to 5,000 pounds with it. It does affect my range, and that's mostly the aerodynamics of whatever I'm towing. But it's capable of doing it. It's right out of that's stock right from Tesla. And so I've been real happy with that.
All right, one last question to Joyce. Since you became an owner of electric cars, how much has your electric bill gone up?
So basically, for about, and now I'm in Potomac Edison service territory, so my electric rates are a little less than Pepco's anyway. But for about 1,000 miles of driving a month, it's about $30. So, I think they're on that EV sheet that we've been referring to. There's some national kind of numbers, we're basically 4 cents a mile. If you figure about, I think 4 cents a mile with 12 cents per kilowatt hour cost of electricity. If you do the math, you work the math out, it's all the way around cheaper than driving on gasoline, with the average gasoline car of about 25 miles a gallon.
That's not
so
even
what's that?
That's not even including the oil and the maintenance that you have.
Right,
to gas
exactly. That's just the fuel. So it's the two between our Volt when we were driving, I mean, what I tell you, when we got the Tesla, the Volt does sit around a lot versus when we had a Leaf in the Volt, because we would always take the Volt on trips. If we had to go to Pennsylvania where my family is, but now we don't do that anymore. We take the Tesla. But when I looked at it a few years ago, it was about, between the two cars, it was about $45 a month total. And that was, like I say, 1,000 miles of electric, and then maybe not quite 1,000 for the other. And what was interesting though, and I'll leave you with this, I know running along, when we got an electric car first, and then we added solar like 6 months later or something. And this was a few years ago, so solar prices have come down. But our average, if you averaged out what we paid for the solar over 20 years, and we actually pay less per month in electricity for the house and the electric cars than we did just for the house prior to getting the electric cars.
Wow.
If that makes sense. So
that's significant.
Yeah, and so it was like really, it's literally like driving for free if you can do it. The marriage of solar and electric vehicles is really that your payback time goes way, it really drops down quite a bit, because the marriage of those two things is really significant.
And then with Tesla, if you can add the Tesla Powerwall, you've got the whole triad.
Yeah.
Well, this was really great. I was hoping to have Elvia talk a little bit about EVA-DC and some of the other National Drive Electric Week things that are going on, but she actually had to run off to the next Zoom. I believe that's starting at 7 o'clock that Annapolis Green is having. I will include, we will include all of these resources. If you're not into the chat, I'll make sure you guys all get those. National Drive Electric Week goes to next Monday, I believe, right? So if you guys have one final word, you know, what I always like is to have a kind of a takeaway, you know, one tip, one nugget, each of you guys, if you have something that you want to say to the audience. We'll start with Alan. You know, what's your nugget, your tip?
Get over it and do it.
I love it.
And if you have any questions, my number's on here. Give me a call.
Sounds good. Suzanne?
Yeah, I'll echo that. And I think one of my takeaways is just like when we put in solar panels, we became a lot more aware of the electricity we used. When we put in rain barrels, we became a lot more aware of the water that we use. And now with this electric car, we've become even more aware of the fuel that we use and our driving habits.
Awesome. JD?
Well, yeah, I agree with Alan. Just do it. Yeah, once, well, like I said, once you go electric, you won't want to go back. It really is a different way of driving. It's a different, you know, all of a sudden you're a part of a community out there. With all the EV groups that are out there, there's a lot of places to get information. If you're interested in the Teslas, we have the Maryland Tesla Owners Club. That is a great place to go on, join that and talk to real owners and find out why and what was the good and bad of it. Also, Zoom meetings like this, you know, this is a great place to go ahead and ask those questions. Why do you own an electric car? I have found very few people that have ever owned or driven an electric car to say they didn't like the experience. It's a very different experience, and it's just amazing to go 0 to 60 in, you know, three seconds or whatever it is, without hearing a sound. So it really does change your life.
And Joyce, that gives you the last word.
Yeah, well, Alan took mine, you know, just do it. Just do it. And I know Elvia had to go, so I did put in the chat the one source for the events coming up this week into next Sunday, this coming Sunday, is at evad.org/NDEW. That's National Drive Electric Week. There, you can look National Drive Electric Week. If you Google that, you can find events happening across the nation. And Elvia has a great calendar at Annapolis Green's website for things that she's got going on. And also another organization that has been teaming with us is Generation 180. I think it's a younger set, younger demographic, and they've been doing National Drive Electric Weeks events that EVADC and LV have been getting involved with as well. So hope that gave some of Elvia's information that she needed to give out.
That sounds good. I want to thank you guys for joining us or letting us join you as you talked about the electric vehicle. I was pretty sure this was going to be my next car, but it's always nice to hear somebody tell me I should do it. So Alan, I guess I said it here, right? My next car is going to be electric. Now I have to do it. Thank you guys so much. As always, we will, as I said, we will send this information out to you. Give it a day or so. We will update you with as much of the resources that we got today. You'll get that as well. For more information, you can always go to onemontgomerygreen.org or poolesvillegreen.org. All right, it did say it is poolesvillegreen.org, right?
No, Poolesville.green.
Excuse me, poolesville.green, as well as annapolisgreen.org. I think I've got them all, but I'll make sure they're all in the chat box as well as in the resources we get you. So thanks for joining us. More information to come. Thank you guys. That was really, really good. I learned a lot.
Thanks. Take care.